When we built our validation file, we did it pretty basic. We pulled in 2 different types of validators, and then we just did a couple of validations with them. There are, of course, more validators that are available. There's the presence validator, which we already used, the length validator, the number validator. We already used some of the options there, but there are a lot. And inclusion, exclusion, format, so things like email and phone or URL or a custom format, and confirmation. And that'll cover probably 90–95% of your use cases. And this documentation is really self-explanatory. So we won't go over those in detail, but the other 5% of your use cases, you'll need to create your own validator. And that's what we're going to do in this video. So first, we'll generate a validator, and we'll call it increment. And what this validator will do is make sure that the next value is either the same or one above the previous value. That's useful for when we're leveling up our monsters. We don't need them to go from level 3 to level 38. No, when they're leveling up, they'll go to level 4. So we're going to import this from our validator/increment file and include it in the level, and then we're going to define it in that file. This file is just returning a function, and this function can take 4 different arguments. These arguments are pretty self-explanatory. In this use, the key will be level. The old value is the old value, new value is the value that we're passing in, and then the changes are all of the changes on the object where this validation is put. So it'll be the changes for the name and the level and anything else that gets changed. All right, so we return true if it is correct, if the validation is good. So here we'll compare if the old value is equal to the new value, or if the old value is equal to the new value minus 1. So first we'll test out a number that is different than the one it's supposed to accept. Let's say 5. Well, it gives us an error. The error it gives us is false, so let's fix that. So we can do another OR and return an error message string. So it'll be must increment by 1. So now when we try to replace it by 5, it'll say must increment by 1. Pretty good. And we'll try putting in 4, and excellent, no error messages. Now let's try putting in 3, and we want it to be able to stay the same. So what's the problem here? Well, JavaScript is just weird. So we're going to use the double equals. And when we use the double equals, of course, it'll work. Now, what if we wanted to make it so that you could increment it by something other than 1? So let's say we wanted our levels to only increment by 2. Could we do that? The answer is yes. So we'll pass in the increment number. So that's the argument that we've been passing in here to 2. And then we will say increment number is equal to the one passed in or 1 as a default. And then instead of having a 1 here, we'll have the increment number, and we'll update our error message. And we see that working. We'll see that 5 now no longer gives us an error since that's 2 more than 3. But 4 is a problem. 3 is still good. Of course, there are still some changes we could make. Let's go ahead and make an isValid property so we can separate that out from our error message more easily. And then if we wanted to, we could do things like giving this more options, letting us choose several increments or maybe a range. But that's left as an exercise to the reader. The important thing is now you know how to create your own validators and include them in your validation files. And that concludes our series on ember-changeset and ember-changeset validations. I'll see you next time we start tackling a new subject.